Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of EUGE, an inside look at chasing a dream. Our guest today is Jeff Koehn. Jeff Koehn is a stand-up comic and a successful painter. I keep saying artist, but stand-up comic is an art form, so I want to be specific. You're a painter as well.
Yep, acrylic paintings.
Acrylic paintings, and we have some examples of your acrylic paintings that we're going to show later on. Yeah. All right, cool. So, as you know, I'm EUGE, an inside look at chasing a dream. I guess I should go to the camera that has Jeff on it, so when I talk to him. And this also should be called like Adventures in Green Screening, because we're today green screening the background here. We've never done that before. We're experimenting with how that's going to go. What do you think? I think that looks pretty cool.
Looks good, yeah.
Anything on the monitor there? We look pretty lively.
Can't even tell there's green back there.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool. So our chroma key is the effect, right? But here on EUGE, we look and we talk to young, aspiring stand-up comics. I've been a stand-up comic myself for going on 27 years now. That's been a long time. But the reason that I do this show is because I like talking to comics. I've met some of the most amazing people in this business. Some of my friends that I have, I can't even believe that I have. I mean, it's only because that I've been in stand-up, and stand-up has taken me around the world, literally. Wow. So I'm a big fan of this business. So that's that's pretty much why I do it. And the number one question I get while I tour the country from a lot of people is, how do I get started in this business?
Right.
And to be honest with you, 27 years removed from beginning in this business, I don't have an answer for that question. I can tell you how to write jokes. I can tell you how to structure a set. But as far as what is the stand-up comedy business now in 2014, I'm not starting my stand-up comedy. I call the clubs call me, and I go out and I do my gigs, and my week-long gigs, and I come back, and so I've been there, kind of done that. Yeah. But I figured that one of the best ways to teach other people, and we have people that are from around the country that watch the show, is to talk to the young comics that are starting out now and ask them the questions. I mean, what is it like? What is it? How do you get started in stand-up these days? What is that like? But first, I wanted to talk to you about we're going to talk about your art. But let's talk about your comedy for a minute. How did you get started in stand-up comedy? What was your first?
Well, about 2 years ago, I did an open mic at a coffee shop down on South Broadway in Littleton. I think it was called Solid Grounds. And a friend of mine, Will Nestle, who's also a stand-up comic, I met him through improv, and I overheard him talking about stand-up comedy and how it just changed his whole life and everything. And I'm like, hey man, I never told anybody this, but I've had this secret dream for 25 years of getting up there and doing that. And he goes, well, come down to improv and give you a taste of that first, and then eventually, which meant 2 months from that. Okay, yeah,
it takes a second. It never happens immediately.
That's right. And he said, if you think you're ready, I'm just gonna give you a little boot up on the stage and just see what it's like.
Right. And you went down, did some improv.
Yeah, and that was fun. I couldn't believe it. I've been so self-conscious most of my life, and even at this little improv group where there was no audience, so we just met in this little church sanctuary, and there were 6 of us, and even then I'm just all withdrawn and kind of scared and oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
And we started playing some warm-up games. I'm like, hey, this is fun.
Exactly. Okay.
But I realized that with improv, even though I feel like I have generally a good sense of humor, it threw me because you have to think you can't have anything pre-planned. You just have to be ready to build on what somebody else
says. Right. You have to be in that moment. You really have to be present to do improv. Right.
And being present, that's still a challenge. I'm very in my head, being a creative type. I daydream and,
Yeah, but it does. One thing that I think that helps the creative types in this business is that this business does force you to be here. This business does. When you're on stage, you can't be somewhere else. You really have to be right here, right now with what you got. And so that's why I think it's good for people in creative types. I think that that this business helps you focus.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So you go out to do some improv.
Yep. Do a little improv, and then about a month into that, or a little over a month, I was hanging out with Will and another friend that was in that group. And I'm like, boy, I don't, because he was saying, yep, coming up on in May, we're going to do this open mic at the coffee shop. And I'm like, man, I don't even have the faintest clue how to write comedy or anything like that. But both of them observed that, you're really good at getting into like characters and kind of reliving stories.
Okay.
So I decided, with some pushing, I decided, hey, you know what? I'll tell my first date story from back in high school, and then maybe like a story of my roommate interacting with him or something.
Now I've heard the first date story. It's funny.
Yeah,
it's funny.
But that version of it, I had no idea about joke structure, timing, anything like that.
Right.
So I'm just basically rambling out this story.
Okay.
And again, very in my head and very self-conscious, aware, oh my God, now I'm in front of an audience.
Right.
So I'm not just telling the story naturally me, it's almost like I'm reading it, and then this happened, and then and I look up and people are just like, giving me that look,
right.
And so, from my standpoint, I was like, okay, that's what bombing's like, But it was such a thrill. I mean, that adrenaline was unbelievable.
Yeah, but that's not what bombing's like.
Yeah. Okay. And then I found that out later.
Right.
That real bombing is.
But the adrenaline rush was there. You felt that.
Absolutely.
And then you were addicted.
Definitely addicted. And I went home and I thought, well, boy, I don't know. I might take a while before I do that again. I was chicken. It took me about another month and a half to try another one.
Okay.
And that was at the Bovine. And Bovine Metropolis Theater downtown. It's like an improv.
Downtown here in Denver.
Yep, here in Denver. And that went a little better. I had a little bit more polish, but when I looked back at the videotape, I was just like, oh my God.
Right.
I couldn't even look at myself because I was just, here was the crowd and here's me like, looking up here, looking at the floor and just,
Right.
But that encouraged me that, okay, maybe there's a couple places where I got a few laughs, so try to build on that.
So now you're out in the comedy scene here in Denver, Colorado, which is just blowing up.
Yeah, it's amazing.
People are moving to Denver just to tell jokes.
Yeah.
Just to get in the comedy scene, which is, that's an LA thing, that's a Chicago thing, that's a New York thing.
Right.
And now it's a Denver thing, which is, it's fantastic. But that ups the game a lot. I mean, like the open mic time in this city now is becoming, people in the business 5 and 6 years that have moved in, but they have to start somewhere. They have to start doing the mics here.
Yeah.
So what is that like? I mean, you're stepping off into the mics in Denver. What is that like for you?
Oh, it's a whirlwind. I mean, I just started doing, in a committed way, the open mics. I think like the last year, maybe I would do once a week or once every other week. And then, I got a challenge from a fellow comic, Anthony Crawford. He moved here from North Carolina about, I think, 6 or 7 months ago. And he was like, oh man, you got to hit him. It's like working out at the gym. You got to build that muscle. So, and he was like, yeah, I'm doing 12, 13 a week. I'm like, wow,
Yes,
so that's a little much for me, but
you can find that here.
You can, yeah.
Amazing, which is just amazing, right?
It's incredible. Like Wednesday nights, there's like 5 mics around town, and I have not yet hit all 5 on Wednesday night. I've done 3 on Wednesday night.
Really?
So I upped my game and I'm doing 4 to 5 a week at least.
Right.
And I'm seeing the difference, like then I'll do your show at Ari's Tavern or a showcase somewhere else.
Okay, we got Ari's, thanks for mentioning that, appreciate that.
Sure,
we got the showcase
plug.
coming up, Ari's Tavern showcase will be coming up on 11/7.
Yeah, November 7th.
And Anthony just booked for that. Anthony just confirmed for that show, so I'm looking forward to seeing his set. I've not seen him yet, so.
Yeah, very cool, yeah.
So Anthony Crawford, don't have the whole list, but Ari's Tavern, I'll put out the poster.
Yep, I think I'm on that list.
Yeah, should be fun.
If I remember, yeah.
Yeah, you're on that show, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's going to be lots of fun. All right, so we have talked before. I know that you are an artist, like I said earlier, you are an artist, and I've also told you before that I think that gives you a leg up. on the entertainment, as far as like doing stand-up, because it would make you not afraid to see a blank slate, or a blank page. That's a muscle that has to be developed too. You have to be able to look down there at a blank page or look up there at a blank canvas and literally pull something out of your imagination.
Yeah.
I mean, just make something up that someone else is going to enjoy, laugh at, take home in a frame. I mean, that right there is an amazing talent. What is that like? I mean, what is your process for doing that?
Well, that's where to start. It's now. So I have a rep that orders a lot of work from me, and there's different series that I do. Like the one here is called the Rolling Hills series. And then there's Into the Woods, where there's a lot of aspen trees, things like that.
Gotcha.
And so what I do is I usually do have a picture in my mind from a lot of memories. I grew up in the Midwest, so there's a lot of rolling hills, poplar trees, aspens. I walked in the woods a lot. So there's a lot up here. I don't necessarily need to do photo references or go out and look at things for references.
Okay, right.
So I start from up here, and then when I started painting, literally the blank canvas, what I do is I work very big to very small. So I'll take a big house painting brush and kind of work in just the general shape of the background. Like, okay, the landmass is going to kind of go like this, and then the shape of the sky will kind of fit like a jigsaw puzzle.
Now, are those questions decided before you put, paint to paper, paint to canvas? I mean, the landscape's going to go like this, or do you just start and let the landscape happen out of your head? I don't know.
Well, really, yeah, more like that, where I kind of visualize it first, and then I decide as it, I'll put a brush stroke down, and then I'll go, that doesn't quite look that good, so then I'll kind of go like this, and then, then it starts to emerge.
Okay.
And there's a phrase, let the painting paint itself. So there's some of that happens too. Right. But I have enough of a framework, going into that where it's not like, oh my God, now what,
Right.
I don't get lost in that process.
How long have you been at the painting?
Well, I've been drawing and painting all my life. Professionally, I started with my rep in early 2003, so 11 years.
Right. And then, how long have you been doing stand-up?
Stand-up, 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. That's interesting. That's interesting. Tell me what do you think the difference is between what you thought stand-up was going to be? I mean, first of all, what were you looking for when you said you had it in your head for years to want to do stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
What did you think that was going to bring to you? I mean, what were you looking for?
Well, I think that first thing was just the idea of performing in front of a crowd and getting some kind of positive response. I had actually performed in a couple different music groups, a couple garage bands, and then 25 years ago in a drum and bugle corps, we used to tour the country.
Really?
So I had the taste of a big crowd,
This is why I love talking to comics. Oh my God. Okay.
And so that kind of adrenaline, and then I did karaoke here and there, and it was like, wow, okay, me and a microphone in the crowd, what a thrill. But then, man, what if I could take it up a level and try to get laughs? Like, to me, that would be the ultimate form of crowd approval. So that was a big factor. And then there was something else in me that just always desires to push beyond into something that I never thought I could do. Never dreamed I would have the courage to do it, and then just say, man, I got to do it.
So I completely understand that. Are you pushing this out on your own? I mean, do you have backup resource, wife, girlfriend, parents? I mean, what does your circle think of you doing stand-up?
Well, definitely, like I mentioned, my friend Will Nestle, and I have a circle of friends that him and I hang around with. I've gotten to know some of the open mic.
Why does it look like you're not sitting up? I'm not sure why.
Oh, okay. Let me try to.
There you are.
There, okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Some fellow open micer like Joseph Essler, we took a workshop together and we become friends, and so we'll hit a lot of open mics together.
What was the workshop?
The workshop was Christina Hall did a thing called Comedy Intensive Workshop, and then Advanced Comedy Writing Workshop. I took both of those, and then actually took the second round of the Comedy Intensive Workshop from her.
What is the what is your process for writing? What do you do? I mean, you took the comedy writing workshop. How do you start writing comedy? What's your thing?
Well, for me, I have an exercise where for about 20 minutes a day, roughly 20, 30 minutes, wish I could say I did it every day, but you know, several times a week at least, I'll just write down things that I've observed out and about, like what I see out there, and then observe what my own thoughts are. I don't necessarily look for what's funny right away, but I just look for things that are odd or interesting. And then I kind of break that down into something that resonates, something like an interaction with this clerk at the 7-Eleven. He always asks me about my art, and he just has a weird take on it, and so I'm like, you know, that's just, it's really odd, because there's the language barrier. He's from Nepal, and so he's like, oh yes, so you do the art, yes, and I'm like, yeah, and he's like, so who do you paint, like Leonardo or Michelangelo? And I'm like, well, I don't think either, really. Maybe Monet. No, not Monet. There is no Monet. I'm like, what do you mean? You never studied Monet? He's like, no. You have to choose. You know, Leonardo or Michelangelo.
In a world where Michelangelo and Leonardo are the only choices.
Yeah. So. Wow.
Okay.
That made me think down a lot of rabbit trails. Like, what does he mean by all that? You know, and then I would observe, like, well, so did he go to some university in Nepal where they only taught, you know, those two parts of art history?
Nepal, I mean, those are the art. Those are the people in the art.
Yeah. So that would be an example. I explore that, and then I explore, like, well, you know, what do other people think of art? You know, what's the image that people have of the life of an artist? Right. So, like I said, I spend about 20 minutes a day just observing, and then taking a topic or two that resonate, and then I learned this listing exercise thing in the workshop, where you just try to write down everything you know about that topic.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And then I just try to...
It works for you?
It's starting to, yeah.
Okay.
And I find that what's been the greatest reservoir of material is when there's something in my life that's kind of really odd and stirs up some kind of emotional response from me, or maybe I feel embarrassed about something, and, you know, and then I try to tell a story. Something that connects with me and the crowd. I mean, I think everybody can relate to a first date, for example.
Right, yeah.
And let's see. And then the toughest part, I would say, is the editing process. You know, I'll write a whole story out long form and go, well, obviously it's got to be a tighter setup, you know, quicker setup. Right. You know,
in the beginning, I advise these comics that are starting out to write, you know, as short a bits as they can, only because that's the show that you're going to get when you start going into, like, the clubs, when you start moving on. You know, you're going to get a 5-minute, you're going to get a 10-minute set, you know, so you're going to want to have something that is strong, that's not your first 5 minutes. You know what I mean? You're gonna want a 5-minute set that is strong, a 10-minute set that is strong. But you know, that's you know, there's long form. There's place, you know, long form can come along, but you know, long form, you have to earn that time on stage first. You know, and then, you know, from there, I guess, do whatever you want, because once you get an audience, you won. You know, that's you're ahead of the game. That's what it's all about. Once you get on stage, then you do what you want to do.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about your art for a second. Okay. I know that you have. I don't even know how we're going to pick this up. Right here. Let me see what this is going to look like on the green screen. Let me hold it up against the green screen.
Let's see if we can. Yeah, maybe. Whoop. You want me to
stand up there? That's what is that? What are we?
Well, it's an acrylic painting.
That's your acrylic on canvas. Wow, we can do that. Look at that.
So can you see that?
We got it whited out pretty much. I mean, the lighting is just horrible, but
yeah, you can kind of get the basic.
You can get the gist of it. That's really, really nice. And this is going to be on sale, or you're giving this away for?
It's a silent auction, down in Jackson, Mississippi.
Wow.
It's an organization called 2 Million Flowers.
That's just amazing that you can do that, man. That you can pull that right out of your head there like that. I don't want you to wrinkle that up or anything. So
there we go.
Yeah. That's just amazing.
Thank you, appreciate that.
All right, so it's going to be an organization called what?
2 Million Flowers, and it's an organization for adoption, what they call the adoption triad, a birth mom who's giving up a child for adoption, and then the child, and then the adoptive family.
Okay.
And to support that and to encourage that.
Nice. And we were talking earlier, you were adopted yourself.
Yes.
All right. Does that come out in your stand-up?
You know, it hasn't
Pull
yet.
forward a little
It hasn't yet, but that's an area that I'm going to start to explore and to write about, because, again, it's kind of a rich vein of material.
Where do you want to go with your stand-up, and what do you picture yourself? I mean, let's say, 5 years from now, where are you at? What are you doing?
Yeah, that's interesting, because I certainly have kind of the background fantasy of, oh man, maybe Comedy Central or something, or headlining, or maybe not headlining in 5 years, but middle act, that type of thing. But like my bigger goal for it's always been kind of almost like a spiritual growth journey, to try to improve my ability to be fully authentic and express something in front of a crowd.
Really?
And then to connect with them that way.
Wow.
And certainly
an amazing
laughter.
goal. That's really, really cool.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Wow.
And so like laughter is definitely a part of that, but I've really been learning that if I get too focused on, okay, what's going to get a laugh, too dependent on the outcome, as it were, then I always go home depressed and disappointed and stuff. But if I tell myself, just have fun and go up there and talk about stuff that I find humorous and maybe a little embarrassing or whatever, because I really want to say something to them, not to sound like overly spiritual, but maybe I can touch people that way. You've heard my Christian mingle joke.
Yeah,
and,
I was going to talk to you about that. I mean, I know that you are a spiritual person. You do. You're in your act. There's references to your religion.
Yep. The church life and all that.
Yeah, the whole church life. How does that play out for you in your life? Church versus stand-up.
Well, that's been an interesting journey, because I've really 25 years ago, when I kind of got into that world, I was very I don't know, how do I put it? Seeking sort of an outside authority to kind of tell me what to do. I was kind of lost, I guess, and outside approval and all that, and I found God, and that part of it was really what I call more the authentic part, where it just felt real, and kind of deep down I knew that, well, I don't need anybody's authority or approval, but yet, I hadn't kind of connected with that. So there was this other part of me that was always like, oh, okay, I'm in church, so I got to think like they think and do what they say. But that caused a lot of conflicts, because it went against my own opinions and, the way that I just am. I'm human, I can't live up to a million rules very well.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
But I'd always get into kind of these conflicts where I think if you're too much of a people pleaser and concerned what other people think, you don't have very good boundaries, and so pretty soon you find yourself, butting heads with people or doing things that just completely go against your values. Right. So some of my irreverent approach on stage kind of tells that story. Like the Christian mingle line is that, I think they changed their tagline now, but the original tagline was that, find God's match for your life. And I'm like, I've never felt that good about that concept anyway. Right. But how does that work with, have God tell you who to get with by clicking on 4,000 profiles? It's just kind of a weird thing.
It's odd. It's a true story. I worked with a girl who met her significant other on Christian Mingle, but she used somebody else's profile login. So, she was on the Christian site, but she was stealing the.
That's awesome. Kind of an ethical violation.
Yeah. I wonder how she explained that too. Like, when they went out on a date. Like, no, it's really not me. Just use somebody else.
Kind of had to start over on the date then,
yeah,
basically.
Exactly. Well, I'm sure they Facebooked or whatever, back on email. But I just always thought that was the craziest thing, that she was stealing the coverage.
Yeah. But I think I've learned that comedy has been part of the spiritual journey, as my art has too. That really, it broke me out of that dogmatic version of Christianity that tends to judge people and try to and really make you a follower and not true to yourself.
Right.
And all of this stuff has been just really to help me become my own person and lead myself.
That stand-up will do that for you, man. I mean, after a while, you have to go introspective. You have to look at your, the changes in your life that's going to relate to the audience that you're trying to reach. That's going to, and then find the humor. Yeah. In that, you can't keep doing high school stuff at my age. You can't be doing the jokes about
right.
those kind of things. So you really have to focus on who you actually are.
Yeah. Right now,
show business in general will do that to you. I have went out for commercials years ago, and I walk into a room and there's me and 30 other bald black guys that look just like me and talk just like me, and one of us is going to get this gig, right? But then 29 of us are not going to get this gig.
Yeah.
So
I could imagine that you have to be pretty thick-skinned to.
Oh yeah,
deal with that.
All of it. You have to be pretty thick-skinned to deal with all of it. And this in stand-up too. You have to be thick enough to go, okay, that didn't work.
Yeah.
I never worry about a joke that doesn't work, because I learned something in that joke. There's always something to learn there. That's show business. There's always a tweak. There's always an eye movement. There's something that you can do that's gonna change something that you can learn.
Yeah, and that right there has been a huge growth thing for me, because the concept of not worrying if a joke doesn't work. For me, one of my biggest battles is that kind of most of my life I've been, like I said, a people pleaser, just always hyper aware of what people might be. Oh, gee, what did that girl think of me, or what did that person think? And then go to the open mics, and it's like you're exposing that in times 10. And then talking to other comics or watching replay of my video, you have to be willing to look at something that might not be pleasant to look at.
Oh yeah.
But then if you're willing to just say, you know what, okay, get past the whatever the fake shame or whatever we put on ourselves, and just say, no, it's a technique, so dig deeper and improve it. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, wow, that made a huge difference.
You're right. Every time I look at tape now, I have to tell myself, don't look at how old you are. You just gotta take that as a default. This is your default look now, and move on from there. That's just the way things are. Life goes on.
Yeah, me, I was watching a video from the Bovine, and I think it's this, I don't like my left profile. For some reason, the right profile is, hey, yeah, all right, cool. but from this side, it's I'm oh no, black it out. I don't want to see it.
Right. But it's hard to get used to watching yourself. Or in listening to yourself, and you don't sound like you do in your head. You don't look like you think you look.
Yeah, I sound like Barry White in my head. It's all bassy, but then out here it sounds like that.
It's not quite that bad.
Not quite, yeah.
That's cool.
But to me, by comparison, I'm like, oh my God. And that's another kind of growth on the path that I've seen, is that the weekend before that first coffee house gig I did, I went to my friend Doug's house, gave him my video camera to shoot me in his backyard to practice.
Okay, right. Mm-hmm.
And then I'd grab my camera and try to watch I couldn't even look at myself. I had to pull it back here and just listen to audio, because that's how just self-conscious I was. But now I can just watch it all day long, and I've gotten comfortable.
Yeah. You have to get to a point where you can, realistically look at what other people are seeing.
Yeah.
Too. And I came in. Where did I see you that last time? Mercury Cafe.
Well,
you did the Ari's, the show.
Yeah, you gave me a 3-5 minute set.
And that was on the 10th.
I think so. Yeah. On October 10th.
And man, I wish we had a videotape of that. It was one of the best shows I've seen at Ari's. It was one of the, I mean, everybody had a ball, from the audience through to the comics, through to the bartenders, through to, it was a really, really, really good night. I mean, and you could feel it as it was happening, and those are the nights you remember, as like, in the business, those are the nights you remember.
It's one of those, what I call a magic night,
It sure was.
Because the crowd energy, first of all, I noticed that it was a packed house. Sometimes if it's a half empty room, it's hard to get that energy up. But when I walked up there, I'm like, man, I'm just walking into the energy. Like, I didn't feel like it was so effortless.
Right. Yeah, it was.
So that was fun.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that set. I enjoyed your set that night. It was.
Thanks.
Everybody, pretty much. Well, everybody had great sets.
Yeah.
Almost everybody had great.
I can't think of anybody who didn't.
No,
I enjoyed everybody. Let's pick on that one guy.
the one guy that didn't have the great set, but no,
Joe Blow from Cleveland or whatever.
All right. So, what are you going now? What are you doing?
I'm just gonna.
What are you working on?
Probably just working further on like a chunk that I want to talk about. I have this a new bit where dating a girl right now who used to work for the NSA, and she got out of it. But I told her, I was joking that I've been a fan of like the conspiracy theory and all that stuff, and I'm like, oh boy, like. The thing is, though, I don't take it seriously. Like I'm trying to downplay my paranoia, and I'm like, yeah, a lot of that stuff, it's just over the top. And she goes, well, not really. I'm like, oh, great.
And she knows. That's crazy, right?
Yeah. So now I'm feeling vulnerable. Like, okay, I gotta delete my cookies and change my emails and all that kind of stuff. And so we're joking about that. And
too late. She's already
too late.
Swept your background.
We're still planning dates, so I guess it's all right.
Yeah. Even if you sweep the cookies, it's on somebody's server somewhere.
Yep.
That's just.
I'm sure. Yeah, they can look at the IP address and all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh my God. I would hate to be judged on my internet search list.
Yeah. And not even on the the porn stuff.
No, I mean just on the crazy
weird searches.
On the things you type. I wonder if I could find that.
Yep.
Or sometimes I wonder if anybody's ever wrote that joke, and you type it in here. It's like, whoa.
Which I've done that.
Have you?
Like, yep. I'm like, okay, this sounds familiar. I want to make sure nobody else has written something like that, And
yeah. Now, what do you think? It's like social media. What's going on out there for you? Is it everybody has to have it? Is it what do you think?
I don't know how I feel about that. I hear different comedians talk about how it's like the new wave and everything like that, and I'm not sure I'm ready to like really start working on using it as self-promotion necessarily. I mean, I love Facebook just for if I have a big show, I'll post the video to impress all my friends, from back in high school or whatever. Right. Hey, look at Jeff, he's doing stand-up now, But yeah, I guess I don't know.
Here's the thing,
that much about it.
People are not impressed when you're doing stand-up.
Right.
If you had a picture of you receiving like a Nobel Prize or making a check for it, whatever.
That's right.
But people say Jeff's doing stand-up. They go, oh really?
Yeah, good for him.
Good for him. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It's not the thing it used to be.
Yeah, they're like, they see a little clip and don't even go to my page. They just, I guess I have to hit like, and then, cat in a shark suit, let's click.
I think, though, that if you're, I think this all goes back to what we were talking about earlier about whether you're in the business to be in the business, But if you're in the business to be in the business, then you pretty much have to be social media ridiculous these days. I mean, I don't know how much you have to do, but you got to be Twitter, you got to be Facebook, you got to YouTube, you got to, and which means you got to write a lot. You got to sit down and maybe a group of people writing and y'all share content or whatnot. But I believe that content burns so fast these days. It's just oh my God. I mean, when I was coming up, I hate to tell old comic stories, but there was nothing like that. I mean, when I was coming up, if I heard a joke that was, somebody that I did, it was because somebody saw me in a city somewhere and decided they wanted to do that joke, not because I put it on the internet and 10,000 people saw it or whoever saw it. But yeah, it's a different game these days. And I think you're gonna have to even be more social media savvy. Because that's where everybody is, man. That's where the kids are. The kids kids talk about friends these days. My son talks about friends these days, and I'm not sure whether he's ever met these people or not.
Right.
You know, I'm like, really?
I've got like 1,200 friends on Facebook, and I kind of know some of them, but there's a lot of people that I've never met.
The hell do I need with 1,200 friends?
I look at it too as, and this sounds contradictory, because like with my art, I am kind of using it to self-promote. That's why I keep that extensive list of friends.
Right.
You know, because you never know. Maybe somebody will see a piece and say, "Hey, I'd like to get a print of that or something."
Right.
You know.
I think that that's a great strategy for a artist and comics. That's cool too. But it's, I don't know how it's going to come about, but there has to come about a time where you're entertaining more than your friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to be able to make people laugh that you don't know. People that have put down money and come in and sat down and expect to laugh.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the comedy business there. I mean, the rest of it, up until that point, you're learning the business. You're trying to figure out joke structure or whatnot. But until you're actually entertaining strangers, you're not really in the business as deep as you need to be.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple shows where it's been like at the grad show for our workshop is at the Denver Improv.
Okay.
And so we'll get 150, maybe 200 people there, and maybe 4 of my friends will show up. Because on a Tuesday night it's hard to get out. So I've had a taste of performing in front of strangers,
right.
and it's quite exhilarating. It surprised me because I had been doing open mics, and like a fellow comic told me that you got to think of an open mic like working out in the gym. You're not gonna. It's not like the bodybuilding competition where you're getting all the applause and everything. You're just throwing weights around and building it.
Right.
So like in the open mic scene. I went to El Chorritos, and the later you go on, of course, there's a dwindling crowd.
Right.
The 20 people that were there in the beginning, 18 of them are your fellow comics anyway.
Yes.
And we're all, we're still working on our set. We're not paying attention to the guy on stage.
Until my friend goes up, and then I'll laugh for him.
Yeah, then I'll laugh for my friend. Yeah. But that can be contrived because you've heard your friend's jokes like 15 times.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, by the time I went on, I think there were 3 people left, and on one hand, it kind of took some pressure away, but on the other hand, I'm like, man, I didn't even get a clap, much less a laugh.
Right.
And did a string of those, and then had the improv show. I'm like, oh my God, wow, people are paying attention to me. I'm getting some laughs here and there. It was, quite exhilarating.
It's a whole different feeling. It's a whole different feeling. I'm sure a packed house at the Improv. We're talking about the Improv here in Denver.
Yeah, the Denver Improv.
A packed house here at the Improv in Denver is a killer night.
Yeah,
is a killer night. I tell people that the downside to not having your friends there is that you have to tell yourself how great you were.
Right.
You feel it.
Yeah.
But then you have your friends there. They all tell you how great you were, but you don't really know.
Yeah, because they're gonna. Although I'm lucky, I have a couple of those friends that are very blunt people, and they don't give sympathetic laughter, or like the first year I was doing the stand-up, they would come out occasionally, and they'd come up to me after the show, and they'd be like, "God, man, I didn't find you funny." I'm like, oh God, for a couple days I'm reconsidering the friendship,
Right.
But then after a while I'm like, well, that's valuable though. I'd rather hear that, the honesty. Yeah. But then when those same people came to the improv show and they're like, man, your work has been paying off, and you've got some funny stuff in there. Yeah. That's huge. One of the tricks to the comedy business is the crowd, reaction, the mob kind of mentality. I mean, if you can get a rhythm happening, then it's pretty amazing to be up there and to feel the flow of you. That's going out, and that's big, and now in your head there's another joke, and here it comes out, and that's going out, and that's big, and in your head there's another joke, and it's just exhilarating to feel that happening, and to know that I could step over here and I'll do the same thing. And they're killing over here too, and it's just it's hard to explain to people. It is, and it is like it does feel kind of like a wave. It is a wave. It's exactly. It rolls on you. It comes down at you, and downtown at the Comedy Works, that they have the lowest ceiling. I mean, it is
literally 7 or no, not 7, but it's probably
lower than these rafters.
It's lower,
here,
yeah, it's pretty low. It's pretty low ceiling, which means all that laughter from those 250 seats hits that ceiling and comes right down on top of you, and it's just amazing. I mean, it rolls down on you like you said, like a wave, and it's.
I've yet to experience that at Comedy Works. I think in the next 2 or 3 weeks I'll be doing that first new talent night thing.
Do you got a date?
Don't have a date yet, but I met with Deacon for lunch a couple weeks ago, and he said, "Yeah, you got about 3 more calls in, and then you should be up."
Okay.
So he said, kind of toward the end of this month or beginning of November.
Now, tell me that. I mean, the structure here in town is exactly that. It's call in, and I think you call in every week.
Yep.
And eventually you'll get put on the show.
Yep, exactly.
One of the open mic shows. For how much will you get to begin with?
Your first show is 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty quick set, but it's a great experience.
Any idea what you're going to do for 2 minutes?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of what my strongest, chunk is. Definitely the Christian mingle. I think the chunk is going to go. The 2 jokes I have about this crazy pastor who, he talks about the, masturbation is self-abuse, that joke, and then that God created women just to be a home for a man's penis, basically.
That's a funny joke. You've been kicked out.
Yeah, and then I've been evicted. That's the joke, and living in hotels since then.
I love that joke. I really do.
And it just, as I was writing that, that stuff just kind of. Well, I shouldn't say it didn't immediately pop in my head. I went and tried it out at Meade Street, which is an open mic, and the original joke for the. Yeah, so this pastor in Seattle says that women were created to be a home for a man's penis, and I'm really jealous of Tiger Woods because he's got mansions all over the country. And it got a laugh.
That's funny.
But it didn't quite feel me though. But thanks.
But that's a funny joke. Why didn't it feel you? Tell me that.
I don't know because
you're not really jealous of Tiger Woods, and you're not the kind of person that whores around, right?
Right. Well, that's.
Well. Yeah.
Not anymore. But yeah. I guess it was almost like my motivation for coming up with the Tiger Woods thing was what can get a laugh rather than what's coming from me.
That's interesting because I just spoke to a class full of students at DU that are coming up in the comedy business. They're actually taking a comedy class. Yeah. And one of the people there was, they did their thing, and it was, anyway, I talked to them about self-deprecation. Okay. Because about how, it's not really good for your soul, that kind of comedy. And it's an easy ride, it's okay, but you should never look in the mirror and go, okay, what's wrong with me? What's funny about it?
Okay.
That's not good for you. Right past that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Although I have to say though that I feel that for me, and maybe I should clarify, it's not necessarily that I'm looking to bash myself on stage or anything like that, but there's something that's been, pretty powerful when it comes from something that resonates within me, because it kind of, how do I put it? Like, I've always maybe taken myself a bit too seriously, but sometimes if I can bring up something that I am a little nervous about, once I kind of write it out and put it on stage, it kind of takes the power out of that thing, and I can go, I'm just like anybody else. That's not so unusual. It's kind of silly.
Let me ask you this: why just writing it out wouldn't take the power away? Why does it have to be on stage?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm not saying don't look at. I'm not saying don't look at. You have to take a realistic look at yourself and your comedy and your show business and your life.
Yeah.
In general, but the things that you focus on are the things that you focus on. The things that your brain hears you say are the things that your brain believes more than anything else. I mean, the person you listen to more than anyone is you.
Yeah. And especially me, because I tend to be very kind of wrapped up in my inner world.
Right, you're a creative person. You're up in your head.
Yeah,
you're up in your head a lot. And I've had people look at me so strangely because I stop in the middle of a conversation. I go, I got to write this down because it just won't go anywhere.
Right.
And until I let it go here, then I'm not going to be able to focus on you because it's like right here. It's like, you know what, Gene?
Yeah.
Hey, what are you doing?
It's urging, and that's kind of where I was going with that eviction joke. That when I went home, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna put the Tiger Woods. I might bring that back at some point, but I shelved it. And I thought there was something kind of knocking on that door, and I'm like, back in February I had a breakup, and I hadn't really. I had been processing through it and all that, but I'm like, hey, I got to say something about that, even if it's like indirect.
Right.
So then that eviction word popped in my head. And I'm like, oh my God, that's perfect. It just struck a chord with me. And then when I brought it up on stage, it got an even bigger laugh than the Tiger Woods one. So,
That's a good joke. I like it. I didn't know that it stemmed from the Tiger Woods bit. That's kind of cool. That's kind of to watch the migration of a joke, I guess.
Yeah, and again, it's kind of like the evolution of a painting. There's some paintings that I do where I'll be like, okay, yeah, I like it. I'm going to set it aside and move on. And it might sit there for a couple months, and then I'll bring it back and go, oh, I know what to do, and boom, it just locks into place.
Yeah, I've had that happen too. You get to writing a joke and it's just not happening. It's like there's something ain't right. I mean, it's hacky. It feels something, whatever. And you just put it aside, and then bam, there it is.
Yeah.
Maybe a week later, maybe 2 weeks, whatever, it comes back.
And what's funny is now we've been talking about this, and the Tiger Woods thing, all of a sudden now it makes sense as sort of a tag after the eviction. There's something that ties it to me more, like, okay, yeah, well, by comparison, I'm having the hard time.
Now it's too late to do a Tiger Woods bit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But the only way you could do that is the thing I like about New Year's shows is that you can do all the greatest hits.
Oh yeah, bring it back.
Yeah, it's like I was doing it. And I actually do a bit that starts that way. The thing I like about working New Year's is that I can do all the old jokes. For example,
and
then we just head back to January and we start doing and it's just it's fun to do, and it's fun to be able to bring some of those jokes back that you just can't do anymore because time is taking them away from you.
Yeah, I have noticed that I'll see some comics that I'm a fan of, and I'll be like on YouTube or whatever, and I'm like, oh, this must be from like 5 years ago because that's a 5-year-old reference.
Right, exactly. And hopefully it is.
Yeah, and there have been some times where it was, wait, that was a month ago?
Sometimes it's not.
Dude, you need to,
Sometimes it's not. I have a bit that I really, I had to drop from my set, but because it's a bit about a laptop. It's a bit about buying a laptop, and it's hilarious. But people are buying tablets now.
Yeah.
Because I open a bit with, hey, I bought myself a new laptop, and people are going, well, why didn't you get a tablet? Because the world's getting a tablet now.
Catch up,
Yeah, let's write a tablet joke.
Yeah.
So, and that too, it might be in my head completely. That's a comic thing. Comics are like that. I mean, comics will go, what are the people thinking down there? And that right there, I actually asked someone about it, and he said, I think you're right. I think it's time to either update that joke somehow or bail on it.
Yeah. And I think that's another thing that the art career, the longevity of my art career has helped me navigate through learning the stand-up thing, because the biggest thing that I learned this is tough, I think, for any creative person, is that this is not your baby.
Right.
A joke, I may love it, but I got to let it go.
Yeah.
Because it may just kind of burn out after a while, or maybe it's just not working.
Right.
And if I'm like, but I love that, so then I'm going to get stuck. And I have a friend, Ken Elliott, great artist, so, plugging him.
Thank you.
But Ken gave me this just great advice. He just blurts out these great pearls of wisdom, and always remember this. He said, if you're still enamored with a painting you did a month ago, you're dead in the water.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. And at first that offended me, because I'm like, but I love all my cityscapes that I did last year,
They were beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
I see what he meant. You got to kind of keep it flowing.
On. Yeah. And I completely understand, because I think that as a painter, or I don't know, but I would assume that as a painter, it's the same as a comedy writer or any writer. You got to get it out of your head to let something else happen.
Yeah.
There's got to be space for a new joke.
Yeah.
So you got to drop that old joke. That's that's part of writing. Part of writing is to know that I got to get this out of my head and write it down and get another joke happening.
Yeah.
So anyway, we do this thing. Well, we are way late.
Oh, okay.
That's all right.
Time flies.
I love talking to you, man. It was great. I'm going to put on my old guy glasses. We do this thing that we call Pop a Caption, but first of all, let me run through this right here. I'd like to say that we are sponsored by Ari's Tavern. Ari's Tavern. This right here is the Thursday special at Ari's Tavern. It is 2 sliders, fries, and these things are amazing. The sliders have Swiss cheese and some grilled onion on it and some bacon. And that right there is $4, what you're looking at. It's $4. It's ridiculously priced. But yeah, so anyway, get yourself, I wish I could grab myself one now. There we are. Extra buns. Nice. I love the green screen. Oh my God, we're going to keep this going. Okay, so Ari's Tavern there at 5886 Pecos in Denver, Colorado. And we're doing the showcase. We're doing the Ari's Friday night showcase at Ari's Tavern. It's going to be on November 7th. So the next one will be there. Come on down and see the show. Anyway, stop by and get yourself one of these right here. Yay, there's a commercial. Ooh, yeah. I like that. Okay.
First commercial I've ever been in.
Huh?
First commercial I've ever been in.
Nice. We do a thing of what we call a Pop a Caption, and it is exactly what it sounds like. They're just a couple of some pictures, and we're going to pop a caption onto them, whatever pops into your head. So,
oh man,
we will see how this works. All right. Let's see. Where do we have that? That's that there. Okay. That's this. That's this. Wait. All right. We might not be going to do pop a caption because it's not loaded, but here's what I can do. I'm going to get me this right here, and then we will open and go to the desktop. Sorry about this, guys. This should have been set up earlier, but sometimes things happen and they don't get set up in time, so we have to do this on the fly. And I don't see the pop-up caption there and here. Alrighty, so here we go. First one up. And the hell is that? That's a dragon of some kind, animated. I'm going to eat your children. Let's see. Suck it, Transformers. I don't know.
Where is Godzilla?
Yeah.
I'll kick his ass.
Exactly.
There's a guy remote control driving it.
Interesting as hell, isn't it? There's a guy
that
on
is
the back,
bizarre.
and there's 2 guys hanging on the side doing something.
Right.
I'm not sure what they do.
Crazy. Maybe they're operating the legs, or what's underneath, maybe.
That's friggin' amazing. Right on. Huh. I should look at these pictures beforehand. And that's one of yours. What's that called?
Oh man, haven't thought of a title for it yet. Or wait, no, I think Green Over Violet, I think it's called.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I like that.
Got it on my Facebook page.
And they can look you up on Facebook and see that? Right on. All right. And that's another one of yours?
Yep, that's in the new series where I do a lot of open sky, a lot of washes to kind of get that radiating effect.
I really like that. That's really pretty.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Sweet.
There's me. Hey.
Now, what the hell is going on here? I saw this on your Facebook.
Yeah.
What is that? Tell me what that is.
Okay, so let me try. All right, so that's a bit where I talk about that in my whole, as I was getting into my art, I was involved in a church, and most people were like, man, all your work is beautiful, da-da-da, but there was one guy who, he said basically something like, well, geez, I don't see anything spiritual in this painting. You're not winning souls for Jesus.
Right.
And right there I go, thank you. Thanks for the vote of confidence. Here, let me just paint a crucifix in the trees there, and then God will put my work up on his refrigerator, something like that.
That makes sense.
So that's,
where are we at here?
and that was the last show I did at the Improv.
Improv in Denver?
Yep.
Very cool. And let's go with camera effect number 2. And we'll move us down here. Look at there. Now we're at picture in picture.
All right.
I love this gig. All right, that's next here. All right, this is winner of a NASCAR event. I'm not sure.
I don't even.
What is that?
It reminds me of that guy. Remember the Know What I Mean, Vern? You know, that guy, Ernest P. Worrell. I'm driving a race car, Vern.
He looks like the other guy in God, the French guy.
Oh, in Talladega Nights.
Talladega Nights.
Right.
Talladega Nights. Yeah, I was like,
Sacha Baron Cohen.
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. So, yeah, nothing funny there. All right. Hey.
Whoa.
That's
What's up?
Yeah, exactly. Me. How you doing? Seriously, I'm gonna get laid at the end of this, right? Shorty, I'm not walking across this without getting laid.
It looks like it's in. I recognize that. Is that like Rio?
No.
Something like that.
No, it looks like Penis Peak to me.
Penis.
Not
Right.
sure what that is. It's like he's walking across the penis tip. All right. Hey, this is.
I'll make it rain in here.
You hope.
And it's
What
like-
the hell is that?
Well, I see ski goggles or snowboarders.
Oh,
Must
so
be
it's
like at the end of a race or something.
maybe a snowball fight or something.
Could be.
There's no snowballs.
Very tiny snowballs in there too. Yeah.
Black people on skis. You hardly ever see that. It's kind of wild. All right. And there we are, back to
horse dragon thing, whatever that is.
beautiful. All right. So we are back. That's interesting.
I suck at the caption
Yeah,
thing.
me too.
There's I get the posts on Facebook. Caption this. I'm like, I'll just read other people's.
Because if you really put the caption you want, it would say, F you and stop sending it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a lot more foul than Facebook allows.
All right, so I want you to look into camera here and tell me, what is the difference between what you thought comedy is going to be when you started and what you found comedy to be now? If you've had advice for someone, starting in comedy, someone who is coming to Denver, gonna start in this business, what would you tell them if you had a minute to talk to them?
I think I'd say that really develop the attitude inside that you're not going to be too attached to the outcome. Obviously, you want laughs. That's why we're doing this. But if you put that first, if you put that before everything else, then that's so unpredictable that you're going to be on an emotional roller coaster all the time. And if you can find a way to make it the number one thing, your enjoyment, your fulfillment, there is an amazing satisfaction just having the balls to get up on stage and be there. You've already succeeded. I'm ripping that off from somebody I heard that from, yeah. But I would say, be present in that moment, what it feels like to be on stage and have fun, backstage we always say that to ourselves, okay, have fun up there,
Yeah, I think the number one thing is, have fun, because sometimes that's what you got in this business. Sometimes, is you gotta have to have fun.
And then I would say, especially in the open mic circuit, go there to learn more than anything. Don't be afraid to fail, but just go there like a sponge and just try to absorb any learning opportunity that you can.
Cool. Finding some open mics, suggestions?
Yeah, well, 5280comedy.com will tell you the list of all the mics,
Right.
but I guess a couple that I'd recommend. Meade Street Station, it's near 32nd and Lowell. They do it on Wednesday nights. Strange Grounds on South Broadway.
Cool.
El Chorrito's a great one.
These are all right here in Denver.
Yep, right here in Denver.
All right, well, Jeff, thank you very much for talking to me, man. This hour
Thank you,
has
Eugene.
flown by, buddy.
Oh,
What are we doing here?
destroying your...
Are we breaking stuff?
Oh, man.
This hour has flown by. I
Yes,
really,
sir.
really have enjoyed it.
Me too.
And I let me hear, where's my camera here? And that's not my camera. That's me. Hey, thank you so much for watching EUGE, an inside look at chasing a dream. I'm going to put down on the sides here, there will be places where you can like our show and you can subscribe to our channel. But tell your friends to watch. We really, really appreciate you. Once again, we'll see you next week. Thank you very much. You have a great, great day. All righty.